And great to have you with us here from our studios at City National Arena, downtown Summerlin. The Golden Knights had an optional practice here at CNA today before the team heads to Vancouver in a little bit. A reminder for you that the Vegas Nighthawks return for their second season beginning this month and become a part of the Nighthawks family. Don't miss out on the action. Go to nighthawksfootball.com to secure your seats for this upcoming season. Full season membership start at just $15 a ticket per game at the Dollar Loan Center located in Henderson. Visit nighthawksfootball.com for more information. So, Bruce Cassidy, I wanted to get a better feel, Shane, and we might anyways on the goaltending. You know, Logan's
tricky, right?
Yeah, like Logan Thompson is looking. So he's been out 6 weeks, right? Got hurt the second game back from the break. Laurent Brossoit comes in, and, you know, you always feel for someone that's injured, but Laurent Brossoit, who
played so well,
missed so much time coming off surgery, didn't have a training camp for the Golden Knights. He comes in, plays real well, then he gets hurt. So I guess it's a good problem to have, though, right, as you get down the stretch.
Well, I think, it was summed up pretty well when he talked about why they brought Jonathan Quick in, and his conversation with Quick was he's going to have the opportunity to compete. So I would imagine, that's going to get extended for what, Logan Thompson has done this year. He deserves that opportunity to win that back. But the key point is you're on the final stretch here. They don't have a lot of time for feeling out, okay, work your game back in. They need guys to come in and be able to execute, get back to the top of their game as quickly as they can, because you're looking for wins at this time of the year to set yourself best position possible heading into playoffs.
Bruce had said yesterday, he said, look, the reality of it is we have 12 games left. The goaltenders are probably not going to get as many games as they want. It's just the way it is. Yeah. That being said, they've got Jonathan Quick, who's come over here and been really good. Was him and the team not great against Calgary, but before that, a 4-0 start with the Golden Knights. And now you've got Thompson, who's, had been the number one guy. Aiden Hill really not in the equation right now because it seems like he's not, that close to returning, right? And you've got Laurent Brossoit. So, it'll be interesting to see how they, Bruce just told us Jonathan Quick goes tomorrow in Vancouver, but then is it Logan Thompson against Calgary? Who plays against Edmonton? But all that being said, they have put themselves, in a terrific spot. I was joking around. I just look at who's in ninth, but it's kind of what I do. They've got a 15-point cushion on ninth place Calgary right now. So having lived through what this team went through last year, remember they were great out of the All-Star break, got hit with another batch of injuries, but all the other teams had the games in hand. Yeah. I remember we were thinking, well, man, if those games in hand go the wrong way for the Golden Knights, they're going to be in trouble. Sure as heck they were. Now, even though they've got hit with some injuries here, and you mentioned it, Shane, I mean, that if they weren't the best fourth line in the league, they were right up there with Waugh, Colasar, and Carrier. They're all out. They've had goaltenders get hurt, but the trades, right? They bring in Barbashev, they bring in Bluger, they bring in Quick before the deadline, and
you call up Dorfiev,
and it's
done.
Just a much different deal.
Yeah.
They've had injuries, but not the decimating long-term injuries that they dealt with, last season coming out of the break, and their play has shown it here. Where Bruce Cassidy calls it winning time. You get into March and April, and then into the springtime, and it's time to put your best foot forward.
And I'm not trying to be biased, but maybe the most important position has been completely healthy since the break, and coincides with the record they've had coming out of the All-Star break. That being their defensive, their top six have been back since the break. Zach Whitecloud was the last piece of that to join coming out of the All-Star break, and they've been able to rotate 5 goalies successfully through it. They've been, a lot of that stems because of that balance and that depth they have through those 6 guys with matchup. That they're comfortable with. Certainly they're going to have matchups, certain lines, but they're comfortable with any pair out against any line of the opposition. That's invaluable. The ability to break pucks out, spend less time defensively, just adds to those offensive elements of your game. So I think that's that's been the biggest thing since the break to me. Certainly their play has gotten better all around, but it helps having that veteran core back together, those 6 guys.
Jack Eichel with a hat trick last night. How many hat tricks did you have? You ever, in your...
my last one might have been, I don't know what it's called, when I played AAA hockey before the Western Hockey League.
Okay, so nothing in junior, nothing in the American League.
No, junior. I was a D-man.
Yeah, but
I was a forward then.
Yeah.
And then I moved to D when I went to the Western.
And that was it.
And now, yeah, I was still kind of an offensive guy. I was an offensive style defenseman for the most part in junior, my last few years, and then in the minors, I was power play and penalty kill, played in all situations. But no, there was no hat tricks.
Never grabbed the hat.
I probably had. I might have had a
trick.
Gordie Howe. I think I had one of those.
I would see that, but I haven't. I don't know if I've seen what Jack Eichel did last night or yesterday afternoon before. Go in to the bin and grab a hat.
Why not?
You
we would probably do that. You'd just be looking for
a free hat. This is terrific.
That's Dave, though.
But he said after the game it was Bruce's idea. Go grab one. Yeah, maybe start a little tradition. We can put it up in the trainer's room or somewhere in the locker room. And I guess Jack liked it because it's got laces, laces on the front. So
pretty
cool. Pretty cool to to see him.
I like that he was shooting.
Yeah.
Like you look at two of those goals, it was just getting the puck. Then I think Marchessault did a good job on the first one, taking away the eyes of Tarasov. I think just like kind of a little slash screen, just enough to freeze his eyes for a half second, and it scores. And the other one just getting to that, and then the last one, a thing of beauty, just kind of sums up Jack Eichel, his speed, his reach, his ability in close to finish plays. So real good night for him, and he gets a hat on top of it.
Yep, fourth of his career, goals 24, 25, and 26 to lead the Golden Knights to the win yesterday afternoon, convincingly over the Columbus Blue Jackets. So the Golden Knights with a road trip coming up. We will step aside before we do. Speaking of the hat trick, if you threw your hat on the ice for Eichel's hat trick yesterday, you might be in need of some new hardware. So here you go. Fans can get 10% off 47 brand hats at VegasTeamStore.com today, or 20% off 47 brand hats at the Arsenal right here as we sit at City National Arena the day after the Golden Knights hat trick, which is today.
Good deal.
There you go. Store hours 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. So if you need yourself a new chapeau, now is the time to do it. We will step aside, and when we come back, we'll take a little bit closer look here at this road trip coming up for the Golden Knights. 3 straight on the road through Western Canada against divisional opponents. That's after this on Fox Sports Las Vegas. Great to have you with us here as Dave Goucher and Shane Hnidy continue along in nighttime at noon. The Golden Knights atop the West and atop the Pacific Division, heading out on a 3-game road trip. Before we get to the trip, Shane, so we're sitting in our studio where
this is worth mentioning.
Where a lot of work is done here, Studio 31. So there's a pen hanging around here. So I happen to pick it up, and it says The Chirp with Darren Millard. So he has his own pens for this junk, this podcast thing he does, which I
guarantee.
I don't think anyone listens to that, right?
If you look at it, I think it's taped on there. He wrote his name, and it's just
there.
a regular pen, and he created a label.
Millard. Yeah,
I think that's what happened.
I think maybe one of his daughters would have done that. You said
maybe it was a class
in
project.
Art class.
Yeah,
The Chirp with Darren Millard. So I'm going to take it.
It's an original.
Yeah, so this is like a true collector's item, and it actually works. You'd figure it wouldn't work, or there'd be a problem with it because it doesn't look like a very expensive
Maybe you ordered
item.
a bunch of them. I don't know.
But The Chirp with Darren Millard. If you've made it now, if you get your own pens, and we can make your own
pens. You're at the top of your
pens.
game right
Holy
there. If you get a
smokes.
free pen with your name on it.
They're going to be back in here, by the way. So we had issues with AT&T in Denver. They unfortunately had a flood in the studios that put it out of commission here since Christmas time. But they've been doing a lot of work there, and so therefore the reason Mallard's been traveling, and we haven't really enjoyed that, is that he's had to go on site. He's actually been fine. He's been good. Better than we thought he would be.
Yeah. We give him a hard time. You do at least.
Oh, my heavens. But he will be in studio with Darren Elliott.
Yeah.
So this road trip. Now, AT&T, they've got everything sorted out, so they'll be back where we're sitting now in studio here for this upcoming road trip. Speaking of the road trip, Shane, so the Golden Knights haven't seen the Canucks in a while. It's been a couple of months. They were up in Vancouver early. They came here, I want to say in January. I was looking at it the other day and knocked off the Golden Knights. So since then, a coaching change, right? Bruce Boudreau out, Rick Tocchet in. The Canucks have gone 13-8-2 under Rick Tocchet, but lately, real good. They've won 7 of their last 8, coming off a win in Anaheim last night.
And some dangerous players, like Elias Pettersson quietly put out a huge season. He's above 30 goals, 88 points. Kuzmenko's been a great pickup for him. His game over from Russia, he's got a 30-goal season. And JT Miller, then Quinn Hughes on the blue line. So, I think what it is when you have a coaching change, it wasn't the smoothest coaching change we've seen in the history of the NHL with Bruce Boudreau. We all know behind that, it was not handled properly, in my opinion. But that said, Rick Tocchet comes in now. It's it's like anything else. These guys, you're down in the dumps now. A lot of these players, it's like, whew. They didn't take a deep breath. Everything feels fresh. So you got a clean slate to start it with a new coach, and it's paid off. They've had a good run. So yeah, you look at this road trip. So it starts in Vancouver. Nothing is guaranteed, and We talk about a lot. They find different ways to win games. Well, why do you need to do that? Well, they're going to face some different opponents. So this Vancouver team's kind of young. You don't know what you're going to see. The Flames, you better be ready for a physical, hard type game. And then the Oilers, you're dealing with the highest end talent in the National Hockey League, and Connor McDavid, who probably at that time will be at the 60-goal mark because he's at 58 right now. And just a tremendous historic season he's putting together. But you're going to need to play different ways. Certainly you want to execute and try and, put the will of your game over that opposition. But at the same time, there's going to be different adjustments. As Bruce Cassidy talked about, he's learning the West to learn the tendencies of the other team and how they want to play, how their forecheck's going to look, how the neutral zone, how they defend. Certainly there's the base there, but there's certain players that you make adjustments with.
Yeah, the Golden Knights, they won in Vancouver earlier this year, right? And then the Canucks came here. Got my scribbles here.
You've got a lot of.
I got a lot. It's like I'm buying.
Nobody can read it but you.
I can't even read it. It's like I'm buying a house with all this paperwork. Then the Canucks came here and knocked off the VGK 5-1 back in January, I believe it was. So at the time, it was the most lopsided loss the Golden Knights had that in the season. But since obviously changed with the game against Calgary. But, to your point, Shane, different styles, but also.
What'd you call me?
It was kind of a combination between Shane and team and styles, something like that. But your name again?
Yeah.
Where you've got Vancouver that's out of it, right?
Yeah.
They're out of it. But everyone kind of playing for something, right? And then you've got
Those
Calgary.
teams are dangerous.
Yeah. Calgary trying to stay in it, right? The Flames right now. 4 points out. 4 points behind Winnipeg, as you mentioned earlier. It seems like Winnipeg's just trying to give it to somebody else.
Well, ask Winnipeg if it's easy. They played St. Louis last night with a goaltender playing his 4th ever game, and he shuts them out. So
and then Edmonton, who's they're
right there.
They seem fine. I mean, they'll be. It looks like one of the top 3 in the Pacific. You got Vegas at 92, LA at 90, and Edmonton at 86, winners of 3 in a row.
And 2 games, like they play Edmonton on Saturday and then back here, don't they?
That sounds right. Yes,
something like that.
That is correct.
So you talk about that swing. How important those games are to try and push and keep Edmonton below you, and it's all jockeying for position. There's no question about that. And the goal is to try and win you want to win the Western Conference. You want to have home ice. That said, and Bruce Cassidy mentioned this a few days ago when he was talking, he said we're fine on the road.
They are. They are.
You get to playoffs, it's anybody's game. And the reason you want, you get in Game 7 scenario, I think, is where it's really valuable to have that home ice. But having been on the other side of things, I've seen pretty good Game 7 wins away from home.
Yeah.
There was one in Vancouver once, I remember, where we're going right now.
I think of it every time I walk in the building.
Every time we go back to Vancouver, I remember 2011, Game 7.
The sight of it. As you mentioned to me, I think off TV the other day, but it's worth, I think, bringing it up. The Calgary Flames. You said to me, how is this team not in a playoff spot? Do you have an answer for that? Why are they not in the top 8 right now? When you look at what they did to the Golden Knights the other night.
Yeah, they're a big team, Big D. I think Huberdeau's taken a long time to adjust to the team. Kadri's come in. They've performed. I think the biggest thing is Markstrom's had an off year in net, right? There was one point where I can't repeat exactly what he said, but he basically said, I suck at hockey. There was a couple other words that he threw in there. And, this is a guy who was number 2 for Vezina last year in voting. He was a huge difference. And then I think, obviously you lose Gaudreau and Tkachuk, 2 big pieces. For Lindholm, now he's got to adjust to a whole new line. So that takes a while. And, and Daryl Sutter, he's a demanding coach. It's new guys and trying to get them. But the scary thing about Daryl Sutter is he's been through this before, getting a team to just fit into playoffs in that 8th seed, and then having no problem taking them to raising the Stanley Cup. Of course, the 2012 Kings.
Yeah. Well, when you look at it too, Shane, you mentioned, so that was, the big move in the offseason, right? Huberdeau and Weegar come to Calgary. Tkachuk goes to Florida. It does, kind of change the makeup of your team.
Sometimes it's not just plug and play, right?
Yeah. You look at that line of Lindholm, Tkachuk, and Gaudreau last year, the highest scoring line in hockey. Now, the teams they've gone to, Florida Panthers right now, President's Trophy winners last year, might not make it. They might. They're a point out.
They're on fire lately.
Yeah, they've been better lately. 7-2-1 in their last 10. They're a point behind Pittsburgh. Yeah. But they might not make it, and it's certainly within the realm of possibility. I mean, Calgary, 4 points with 12 games left. It doesn't sound like a lot, but when other teams, you get 3-point games and everyone else is getting points, they might not make it either after winning the Pacific
111 points
handily last year. Handily last year. So, and then, as you mentioned, the Oilers coming up on the last stop of the road trip, and then the first game back here. It's a home and home. But the Oilers have picked it up. They've won 3 in a row. So it's no soft touches here on this road trip.
Well, we talked about the acquisitions of Golden Knights. These other teams have made the Oilers. I think Matthias Ekholm was a huge add for them to bring in. They needed a good, steady blue liner. They got one in him. I think their goaltending's still a question. With Jack Campbell. Evander Kane back in. I think he had a hat trick his last game. So, certainly the Oilers, they're still a top-heavy team, but when you're talking about top-heavy team, when you're talking about the likes of Draisaitl and McDavid, it might be all you need.
Top 2 scorers in the league, right? McDavid, 58 goals and 134 points. Draisaitl, 44 goals and 104 points. 27 power play goals.
Yeah. You want to definitely stay out of the box.
Yeah. So, but it'll be a great test for the Golden Knights. And, you've mentioned this, Shane, and even Bruce Cassidy's touched on this. It's you get into some of these what can be dangerous games when you play a Columbus, right? Maybe you play in Arizona this time of year. Yeah. Montreal was here recently. Vancouver could be in that
Vancouver.
boat. They're way out of it, right?
They're just playing. There's no pressure attached to it. There is in certain individual cases where they're trying to prove. And so that's the motivation right now is, when you're out of playoffs, the management, the pro scouting, the GM, everybody, the coaches is looking, okay, what do we have going forward? What are we going to be? A lot of these players want to prove that they're going to be part of the equation going forward. So that's pretty powerful motivation, and they're going to work each and every night. And if they lose, it's not going to be the end of the world. They know they're done here in a month, but still they've got that amount of games left to prove their worth.
And motivation, and Bruce touched on this after the game last night. He wasn't here, but a lot of these guys were here last year. They missed the playoffs, right? And they missed it for all sorts of reasons, but an opportunity to get back in and then see where it goes from there. But, the Bruins, who clinched a playoff spot about 2 months ago, it seems, the only one to officially do it just yet. But, the Golden Knights have certainly put themselves in a heck of a spot. But, now it's a combination of making sure they finish on a good note. Where do you fall on the – I don't think teams can just turn it on once the playoffs start.
No.
You see teams stumble. And I know it goes both ways. A team will go on in a heck of a playoff run and they lose 6 out of 7 to end the regular season. I don't know anything about anything. I think it's very difficult to, okay, well, now it's Tuesday and the playoffs start. Or can veteran teams do that? Does it depend?
I think, when you want to get there, and once you're in playoffs, it's, we say, all the stats go away.
Yeah.
All the standings. Yes, you're slotted one, but that's all away. You figure every team that's in there, the 16 teams, all feel they've got a chance getting to the playoff. And there's a new excitement that comes with that. It's kind of like I said, when a new coach comes, whatever. This is like the grind of the 82-game season. The regular season is over. All right, now it's kind of funny to say. Okay, now it's the important time. which it's.
What about the other 6 months?
But that's it. This is what you play the game for. It's like, you just went through this mental and physical grind for 82 games just to get to the point where you want to be. That's fun.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. So I think it's beneficial the go in playing well and feeling good about your game. I think that helps, but I don't know if it necessarily is, if you kind of slump or stumble going in, it's almost easier to reset. You're like, all right, we're in. Let's go.
Yeah. So you're saying it doesn't mean jack squat. Pretty much.
I think it depends on the team.
Yeah, which I could see that for sure. One more segment to go here, Nighttime at Noon with Dave and Shane. A quick reminder for you, the Foley Food and Wine Society was created to celebrate 3 of Bill and Carol Foley's greatest passions: world-class wines, exceptional cuisine, and magnificent travel destinations. Members of the society will have access to an entire portfolio of properties around the world and have the exclusive opportunity to join like-minded individuals who seek experiences with the finer things in life. So check it out today for free online, FoleyFoodAndWineSociety.com. Dave Goucher, Shane Hnidy, Nighttime at Noon. One final segment to go. We'll look around the NHL. We've already kind of previewed the Golden Knights road trip. We visited with head coach Bruce Cassidy. Take a look around what's happening in the NHL here, down to the short strokes, about 3 weeks to go in the regular year. That's coming up next on Fox Sports Las Vegas. You know, we mentioned, Shane, some of the best teams in the league since the All-Star break, and the Golden Knights tie for the most wins since the break. They have 14. They've gone 14-3-2. If you look at win percentage-wise, now this was going into yesterday, the LA Kings at 794, they were 12-2-3, including a 9-game point streak. They play tonight at home against Calgary. So a chance there for the Kings to try to
big game
put
coming up between the Golden Knights and Kings. They meet one more time too. That's you talk about.
You think Jonathan Quick plays that game? How great would that be? But you can't make this crap up. Imagine that. But yeah, the LA Kings, the Golden Knights have been real good since the break. Top 2 teams in the league since the break: the Kings and the Golden Knights. So LA, if you're so inclined, watching some other games tonight, or at least taking a peek at some scores. The Kings and the Flames will play tonight. Then, of course, the Golden Knights are in Calgary on Thursday. Taking a peek at some other things around the league, and we were just on this road trip, Shane, through the East, mostly the East. And bad news for the Carolina Hurricanes with Andrei Svechnikov, right, who's just had a terrific season. Got banged up the game before they played Vegas. We were watching some of the highlights, and he didn't look right.
He limped off a couple of shifts in that game.
Stayed in the game, comes back, and really gets injured. Looks like an ACL injury for him. And
when you think of that team, Svechnikov, Pacioretty out.
Yeah.
And they didn't make any move. You know, you talk about the benefits, and, how do you don't know this is going to happen, but didn't make a significant move at the deadline, which could have helped.
Yeah.
Still a very good team, and they're going to be dangerous, but certainly not as lethal as they were without Svechnikov not in the lineup.
23 goals this year, 30 last year. You mentioned Max Pacioretty, who tore the same Achilles twice, came back, played a handful of games. He's done for the season. So, and yet a Carolina team that has led that Metro Division for a good chunk of the year. The Devils had that great start. Yeah.
They've stumbled as late. Young team, though, but not much seems to bother that team. They're going to stumble, but they play a fast game. It's and the Rangers are rolling. Yeah, the East, Boston. You thought they were going to spend. You always wonder, is Boston? When you said they've clinched. Okay, do they? Do you start resting guys? Do they maybe? That's the team I think maybe comes off their game. Well, they won 7-0 against Buffalo yesterday, so obviously they're not slowing down that much.
Hey, how about the Rangers? You see the Rangers yesterday? Yeah. They were up 6-0 in the first period against Nashville. Wasn't that after they hammered Pittsburgh the day before? Yeah. Same deal. They were up 5-0 in 10 minutes yesterday, and ended up winning it. I think it was it 6-0 in the final.
Well, everybody's wondering, are you going to be able to make the chemistry work there? Tarasenko, Patrick Kane coming in, some huge, players, and they already have the Zibanejad, the Panarins, the Kreiders, guys that, but. It seems to work. It
did take a little
while, but certainly seems to be in full flight right now.
Some of the scores yesterday, you mentioned Boston blows out Buffalo 7-0.
Rangers 7-0.
Golden Knights 7-2 over Columbus. Yeah, Rangers it was 7-0. The day before, the Rangers. So they had back-to-back blowout wins. They blew out Pittsburgh.
Yeah. So what?
The day before?
Do you think Pittsburgh
I don't
that
know.
window of that team? The Crosby, the Letang, the Malkin.
Day before it was 6-0 Rangers over Pittsburgh. I'll tell you what, I wonder if here's the thing. They made a decision in the offseason to keep the band together. Yeah. Crosby's already signed, but they decided to keep Letang and keep Malkin. Extended, I think Brian Rust was part of that too. Risky, right? No, I guess the other option is you decide the window's closed. But you're talking about generational players, right, in Malkin and Letang. Yeah. They decided to keep them all there. It went down to the wire with Malkin, right? There was talk he was going to go somewhere else. You wonder if it's run its course. What is it, 16 years? So they haven't missed since Crosby's rookie year, which was 05-06. So you're talking, 16 years in a row they've made it. If it ended today, they're in. They're barely in. They would face Boston in the first round. Right, that would be the number.
Prize.
Yeah, that would be the matchup. Right, the Bruins are going to take on the second wildcard team. That could change. I mean, Pittsburgh's got a 1-point lead on Florida right now for that second wild card spot. I don't know. I don't know if the goaltending hangs in there with Jari and DeSmith. And
that's a team that's been in there year after year for so long.
But haven't And look, anybody would take back-to-back cups, right?
Yeah.
16 and 17. They haven't really done anything since then, right? It's been quick exits. I think the first round maybe every year, almost every year since then. So, yeah,
It's going to be tough that East. Toronto and Tampa are already pre-scouting each other for the postseason.
Well, that's it floors me, but it's great for the league, right? The only thing that's pretty much set is Toronto
and
Tampa.
That's pretty much a guaranteed.
Whoever's going to have home ice, and right now the Leafs have a 3-point lead.
Yeah.
Right. Other than that, for the longest time it looked like Carolina was going to win the Metro. Well, not so fast. Jersey's only a point behind them. So we thought for the longest time it would be the Devils and the Rangers. It would be a great matchup, right? That rivalry in the first round. Might happen, might not. Could be Carolina and the Rangers. And in the West, same deal.
Yeah.
There's nothing set. Nothing. There has been a little bit of separation. You've got, Winnipeg with a 4-point lead on Calgary. Nashville, amazingly, is only 5 back.
Got rid of all their players, but they got games in hand.
Yeah, but that, and sometimes Golden Knights saw it last year. That can be a huge help for teams. But you get into that 4 out with 12 to play for Calgary. But it sounds like a lot, but it's 2 games.
Yep.
You win a couple of games. Winnipeg continues to kind of falter here, and that could be it pretty quick. But anyway, we thank once again Bruce Cassidy for joining us. Great time to catch up with the head coach, his team in first place in the West, down to the final dozen games of the regular year, all against the West. Big 3-game road trip coming up, Shane. We've got to
get to the plane.
Got to head to the bird here and head up to Western Canada. We thank you for joining us. Watch us on the TV sets, AT&T Sportsnet. This whole road trip through Vancouver, Calgary, and Edmonton. We'll talk to you next time on Fox Sports Las Vegas.